How high is the threat of a Russian invasion right now?
It's very high.
Why?
It's very high because they have not moved any of their troops out. They've moved more troops in. Number one. Number two, we have reason to believe that they are engaged in a false flag operation to have an excuse to go in. Every indication we have is they're prepared to go into Ukraine, attack Ukraine.
Your sense that this is going to happen now?
Yes. My sense this will happen within the next several days.
Well, that's pretty sunny, isn't it? Joining me now, Representative Thomas Massie, one of the good ones from Kentucky. Congressman, first, I did enjoy him having to remove the mask to talk to reporters. It is amazing how kids have to wear that and they can't communicate, but the president does. But setting that aside, I've been trying to figure out why it's been all doom and gloom from the White House. I understand why they'd want a war to keep their, public off the eyes of their bad poll numbers, but it seems like a constant message of doom. Why?
Well, I noticed the mask too. Nothing projects strength when the leader of the free world is wearing a face diaper. In any case, Joe Biden's only got one gear, and that's grumpy old man. So it's hard to tell if the mood is just the Joe Biden get out off my lawn, get out of Ukraine mood, or if there's something that the administration is trying to project. Maybe they're trying to project strength by being grumpy and doom and gloom.
What should the average American, what should we think about it? I'll be honest with you, Congressman, and I don't mean this to sound cold-hearted. I don't care. We have a mountain of problems right here. It's not that I wish the people in Ukraine best. I wish people in Russia best. I don't care. Why is this our problem at all? Explain it to me.
It's not our problem. We should be worried about the invasion at our southern border, not any kind of incursion across the Ukrainian border. But here's where I'm worried this might be going, Jesse, and something that we should all be worried about. I've heard some rhetoric in Washington, D.C., where they want to get into sort of a trade war with Russia. In other words, economic sanctions against them, and then there would be sanctions against us. And if we stop trading with Russia, the prices here in the United States are going to go up, even though it constitutes a small amount of the trade that we have globally. For instance, we get almost $1 billion of fertilizer from Russia. Shut that off and see what that does to food prices. So not only should we not be in a hot war because it's not in the U.S. interest, we should avoid a Cold War and we should avoid a trade war as well.
Congressman, who are our enemies now globally? Obviously China, that goes without saying, but who are the ones we need to keep our eye on? Who are the ones who are aggressively going after our interests?
Well, actually, I think India's got this figured out pretty well. India is allied with just about everybody except for China. India has, and they don't have formal alliances, by the way. They don't make treaties and whatnot like the rest of the countries. But their informal alliances are with Australia, the United States, and Russia, because they recognize that the great threat to freedom on this planet is China.
China. Everyone seems to understand this, or at least everyone I talk to. China's a threat, China's a threat, China's a big problem, and yet so few nations seem to want to actually do something about it, ours included. Why? What am I missing? The enemy is practically telling us he's the enemy. He's quite open about it, quite open about his plans, and we continue to act like he's what, lying?
Well, look, the strongest message that the United States could send is to be as independent as possible. No country can be independent and maximize their trade and their utility for their citizens. But we should at least be energy independent. We should be making our own steel. We should be self-sufficient food-wise. So if we want to be strong globally, the first thing we have to do is decrease some of our dependence on China and these other countries.
Congressman, Dr. Fauci, obviously I'm not a big fan. I don't think you're a gigantic fan either, but we're entering the realm now of national child abuse. Here's Dr. Fauci talking about masks and kids.
It very well may be that if you take masks off the kids in the next week or so, it's going to keep going down. But you've really got to be careful. You don't want to say it's an absolutely wrong decision. It's understandable why people want to take masks off the kids. But right now, given the level of activity that we have, It is risky.
Can you please explain to me this creepy obsession with abusing kids? Because there are a lot of people in this country who seem to have it. This is obviously a power and control thing. I'm an idiot, but even I can read the data that kids are not in danger, yet people want them masked at all times. Why?
Well, people are fed up. They've had enough. Dr. Fauci is a child abuser. The whole argument from the beginning for masking children and keeping them out of school and not letting them develop educationally was to protect the older generation. Basically, the kids have been sacrificed for the last 2 years. This has been part of Dr. Fauci's plan. As you said, we've known statistically from the beginning there are much greater threats to children than COVID. For instance, car accidents, accidents of just about any kind, or even the flu is more dangerous to children. So, but here's the good news. People are fed up. Dr. Fauci's power is only the power that he can project. He ran around to all the states a couple years ago, except for Florida, because Ron DeSantis banned him from coming to Florida and spreading his fear porn. Thank goodness. But he ran around and he gave the imprimatur of the federal government to these health agencies, these bureaucrats at the state level, so that it was never really the Trump government that shut down things. It was the state governments, with the exception of Florida and South Dakota, that were shutting things down. But they were doing it with the imprimatur of Dr. Fauci and Dr. Birx. So he's been an abuser from the beginning. This was all part of his plan. They're fed up with him. At the school board level, they're saying, take the masks off here in Kentucky.
They are fed up with him. Why is he still there? How's this guy been around for so long? I mean, I understand he does an interview on CNN every single day, but other than that, very few people are still listening to him, and yet he's still, as far as I know, the highest paid member of the federal government. How is that humanly possible?
Well, these bureaucrats dig in like ticks. They burrow in and they survive from one administration to the other. He shouldn't be there. I was the first co-sponsor of Marjorie Taylor Greene's bill to fire Fauci, and we've picked up a lot of co-sponsors since then. I wanted to fire him while he was working for Trump, and Warren Davidson of Ohio also has a bill to fire Fauci that I've joined on to. Hopefully, when we get the majority back in the House, we can defund what he's doing. There are a lot of people whose notoriety doesn't rise to the level of Dr. Fauci's at the CDC and NIH, who need fired and basically banned from ever making decisions for the public again. They've been lying through this entire pandemic. Some of them they think are noble lies, but ultimately, at the end of the day, you have to let the American people know true facts and let them make their decisions for their own health outcomes.
Congressman, thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Thanks for having me on, Jesse.